There's a truth most people never learn until it's too late. Not everyone deserves your help. And while kindness is a virtue, we're taught to uphold. Sometimes being too kind, too available, and too helpful can become the very thing that destroys your peace, your purpose, and even your potential. Because the truth is, help is powerful. And when given to the wrong people, it can turn against you like a double-edged sword. Not all help leads to healing. Sometimes it leads to harm. Let me walk you through this. You want to be a good person, someone who lifts others, supports them, shows up when it matters. But there's a silent cost to this mindset when it's not paired with wisdom. Imagine giving all your time, your energy, your emotional bandwidth to people who only drain, manipulate, or use you. Imagine waking up one day completely empty and realizing that all your help only fed someone's excuses, not their growth. You see, help without discernment is a trap. It disguises itself as compassion, but it slowly teaches people that you are their crutch. And when people start depending on your strength instead of developing their own, you're not helping, you're enabling. Let me share something personal, not as a victim, but as someone who's seen this unfold in leadership, in families, in friendships, even in mentorships. The people who lose the most are not the ones who ask for help. They're the ones who never stop giving it to the wrong people. So who are these people you should never help unless you want to sacrifice your own sanity? The victim thinker, the one who always blames the world, never themselves. Help them once and they'll expect you to fix their life again and again. And again, they don't want growth, they want a rescuer. The emotional blackmailer, they use guilt, shame, and obligation to make you feel responsible for their mess. Your help becomes a leash they pull on whenever they're uncomfortable. The lazy excuser, they have dreams but never effort. They speak in plans but act in procrastination. Your help only fuels their comfort zone, never their progress. The chronic complainer, nothing is ever right and your help is never enough. The world owes them everything and your support becomes another checkbox in their long list of grievances. The taker who never gives. They remember you when they need something and disappear when you need them. Helping them is not generosity, it's self-sabotage. The drama magnet, chaos follows them like a shadow. Your help is always urgent, always a crisis. And just when one storm ends, another begins. You don't become their helper. You become their firefighter, full-time. The jailless friend, they smile in front of you but wince at your success. Helping them might look kind, but behind the scenes, your growth triggers their insecurity. And that jealousy, it can turn into sabotage. The one who refuses responsibility, they make bad choices and expect you to rescue them from consequences. They want your help, not your advice. And when things go wrong again, they'll blame you. Let me be clear. This is not a speech about becoming cold or selfish. This is about boundaries. It's about protecting your energy so you can use it where it matters most. On people who want to grow, who respect your time, who take your help and use it to become stronger, not dependent. Great leaders, parents, partners, and friends know this. You can't carry everyone. And when you try, you risk falling yourself. The strongest people are not the ones who help the most. They're the ones who help with wisdom. Help those who are ready. Help those who are willing. Help those who listen, act, and take responsibility. But never help those who will turn your gift into their excuse. Because the cost of helping the wrong person is higher than you think. It's your peace, your purpose, and sometimes even your future. So be kind, but be wise. Your help is powerful. Don't give it to those who use it to stay broken. 5 keynotes from the speech. Not everyone deserves your help. Your compassion must be paired with discernment. Helping the wrong people doesn't heal them. It enables them. Boundaries are not selfish. They are essential to protect your energy and purpose. 8 types of people misuse your help, especially those who drain, blame, or manipulate. True impact comes not from helping everyone, but from helping the right ones wisely. Not everyone deserves your help. Your compassion must be paired with discernment. This may sound harsh at first, especially to those of us who were raised to believe that kindness should be unconditional and support should be limitless. But when you step into the real world, into relationships, leadership, family dynamics, even community work, you begin to understand that the wrong kind of help can become a weapon used against you. Compassion without discernment is like handing a sharp tool to someone who might harm you with it, knowingly or unknowingly. It's a beautiful act rooted in goodness, but if not guided by clarity and boundaries, it has the potential to do more damage than good, not just to you, but also to the person you're trying to help. The truth is, some people don't want to grow. They don't want to improve or become better versions of themselves. They're not interested in taking accountability or putting in the work that real change demands. What they want is a shortcut, a savior, someone to lean on, someone to blame, someone to carry the consequences they're unwilling to face. And when they find someone compassionate, someone like you, they see an opportunity, not for transformation, but for avoidance. They'll take your time, your energy, your emotional labor, and leave you feeling used, confused, and even guilty for drawing the line. It's not about becoming selfish. It's about becoming wise. When you give compassion without checking whether it's going to help or harm, you end up reinforcing negative behavior. A person who constantly plays the victim, for example, won't grow stronger by having you swoop in to fix every problem. Instead, they'll become more dependent, more passive, and even entitled to your help. They'll begin to expect it. And worse, they might even resent you when you finally say no. because you didn't just help them. You trained them to believe that your help was guaranteed. There's also the danger of emotional burnout. You might think you're strong enough to handle it all, that your role is to be the helper, the healer, the fixer. But even the most emotionally resilient people have limits. And if you're constantly pouring into others who never pour back, if you're giving and giving with no discernment, you'll eventually find yourself depleted. You'll start resenting the very people you try to help. You'll question your own values. And what used to be a natural expression of care becomes a burden, a task, a transaction. Helping others should feel like a conscious choice, not an obligation rooted in guilt or fear. But when you lack discernment, you allow manipulation to enter the equation. Some people know exactly what buttons to press. They know how to make you feel responsible for their pain, how to phrase their struggle in a way that triggers your empathy. And suddenly, you're doing things not because they're right, but because you feel bad not doing them. That's not compassion, that's control dressed up in vulnerability. Discernment means asking hard questions before offering your help. Will this person truly benefit from my involvement? Are they taking steps on their own? Or are they waiting for someone to save them? Do they listen, or do they only seek sympathy? Are they growing, or are they repeating the same patterns with different faces and new stories? These questions aren't unkind. They're necessary. Because without them, your kindness can become an enabler of stagnation and worse, self-destruction. We live in a culture that celebrates empathy, and rightly so. But empathy without intelligence is dangerous. You must learn to recognize patterns. You must learn to distinguish between a genuine cry for help and a cycle of emotional dependency. You must understand that while everyone needs help at some point, not everyone deserves yours in every moment. Deserving doesn't mean perfection. It means willingness. It means openness. It means they're meeting you halfway, taking ownership and not using your help as an excuse to stay small. So yes, be compassionate. Yes, be generous. Be the person who helps when no one else does, but don't do it blindly. Don't sacrifice your mental health, your goals, your peace of mind just to be seen as kind. Real compassion empowers. It doesn't enable, it doesn't rescue, it doesn't rob people of their responsibility. Helping without discernment doesn't make you noble. It makes you vulnerable to being used. So protect your heart, not by closing it, but by guiding it with wisdom. Helping the wrong people doesn't heal them. It enables them. This is one of the hardest lessons for compassionate, well-meaning people to accept. We're raised to believe that help is always good, that extending your hand to someone in need is a virtuous act, that support leads to healing, and that our presence in someone's life will somehow push them toward transformation. But the truth is much more complicated. Sometimes the very help you offer becomes a shield that people hide behind, a safety net that removes their incentive to change, a soft place that delays their rock bottom. You think you're saving them, but you're actually giving them more reasons to avoid saving themselves. When you help someone who's not ready to grow, not willing to change, or not taking responsibility for their actions, your help doesn't bring healing. It brings comfort and dysfunction. It tells them, sometimes subtly, sometimes directly, that their current behavior is acceptable. It reinforces their habits, their excuses, their unhealthy mindsets. And over time, they come to depend not on their own strength, but on your intervention. They don't build resilience, they build reliance. And when they fall, they don't learn to get up. They look around for you to lift them. People who genuinely want to grow, they meet your help with effort. They take what you give and they multiply. They ask for your support, but do the work on their own. They're grateful, not entitled. But people who aren't ready or who are using help as a shortcut, see your support as a way to avoid discomfort. And real growth never happens in comfort. Growth happens in tension and discipline and failure and ownership. If your help is making things easier for someone who refuses to change, you're not helping. You're delaying the inevitable lesson life needs to teach them. The danger is you may not see the consequences right away. In fact, it might feel good at first. You feel needed. You feel important. You feel like you're doing the right thing. And they might even praise you for being so generous, so loyal, so available. But slowly the dynamic shifts. Your help becomes expected. Your support becomes assumed. And instead of building their life, you're managing their life. You're solving problems that aren't yours to solve. You're stepping into chaos that they created. And when things still fall apart, because they always do when there's no real accountability, you might even be blamed for not doing enough. This is why it's not just about helping. It's about helping wisely. When you step in too early, you interrupt their growth process. When you protect them from pain, you protect them from learning. When you soften the blow of consequences, you remove the very pressure that might have driven change. It's not cruelty to step back. It's not unkind to say, you need to figure this out. In fact, that might be the most loving thing you can do. Because some people will only take ownership when no one else is willing to carry their weight. We also need to understand that some people don't want healing, they want comfort in their dysfunction. They've become so used to being broken that wholeness scares them. So when you offer help, it doesn't inspire them. It threatens their identity. Healing requires letting go of victimhood, releasing old narratives, embracing responsibility. And for some, that's too high a price to pay. So instead of using your help to rise, they use it to stay exactly where they are. They weaponize your kindness to stay small. This dynamic plays out everywhere, in families, in friendships, in workplaces. It's the employee who constantly underperforms, but always has a story and you keep covering for them. It's the sibling who keeps making poor choices and you keep rescuing them, thinking love means protecting them from their own mess. It's the friend who keeps dating the wrong person, keeps calling you to complain, and you keep giving advice they never take. Over time, your help stops being helpful. It becomes noise, background music to their patterns, and you find yourself stuck in a cycle, pouring into someone who has no intention of changing. The worst part is, when you finally stop helping, when you finally draw a boundary, they often react with anger, not gratitude. Why? Because your help wasn't healing, it was enabling. And when you take it away, they're forced to confront what they've been avoiding all along themselves. But this confrontation is necessary. It's the beginning of real growth. And it can't happen as long as you're standing in the gap, trying to fix what isn't yours to fix. So no, helping the wrong people doesn't heal them. It delays their healing. It keeps them from facing truth. It makes you a barrier between them and their breakthrough. Help is sacred. It must be offered with care, intention, and wisdom. Because when it's misused, it doesn't just hurt you. It holds them back from becoming who they were meant to be. Boundaries are not selfish. They are essential to protect your energy and purpose. This is one of the most misunderstood truths about personal growth and emotional intelligence. Too often, people associate boundaries with coldness, distance, or rejection. They think that saying no means you're abandoning someone, that stepping back means you don't care, or that drawing the line makes you arrogant or heartless. But in reality, boundaries are not a sign of weakness or disconnection. They are a sign of clarity, strength, and deep self-respect. Without boundaries, even the kindest heart gets trampled. Even the most giving soul ends up empty. When you live without boundaries, you give everyone access to your time, your emotions, your thoughts, your energy. And not everyone knows what to do with that access. Some people will appreciate it, but others will take advantage of it. They will overstep, overask, and overreach, often without even realizing it. And when you allow this to happen without ever pushing back, you teach them that your needs, your peace, your space are not priorities. That's not compassion, that's self-neglect. You can't build a meaningful life if everyone else's expectations are building the schedule for you. Boundaries are not walls that keep people out. They are doors that teach people how to enter your life with respect. They're not about punishing others, they're about protecting your peace. Every time you say yes to someone out of guilt, fear, or pressure, you're saying no to something that might be more aligned with your truth. Whether that's your own rest, your focus, your dreams, or even your mental clarity. Over time, those small compromises stack up. You lose touch with your priorities, your vision, and even your identity. You become someone who lives in reaction to others instead of someone who acts with intention. People often confuse boundaries with being rude. But the truth is, the most grounded, respectful people in your life are the ones who have clear limits. They're not constantly overwhelmed or resentful. They don't explode or burn out because they know when to step back, when to say no, when to protect their space. When you set boundaries, you're not rejecting people. You're simply rejecting dysfunction, chaos, and codependency. You're choosing balance over burnout. And if someone gets offended by your boundary, it's often because they were benefiting from your lack of one. Setting boundaries is one of the most powerful ways to honor your purpose. Your energy is limited. Your time is finite. If you spend it all on things that drain you, there's nothing left to invest in what fuels you. And make no mistake, your dreams require energy. Your goals need your full presence. Your purpose demands focus. You can't build something meaningful if you're constantly distracted by people pleasing or trying to manage everyone else's emotions. That's not noble. That's a distraction disguised as duty. What makes boundaries even more important is that they teach others how to treat you. People can only honor what you clearly define. If you don't speak up, if you don't communicate what's okay and what's not, you leave the door open to misunderstanding and mistreatment. And the longer you go without boundaries, the harder it becomes to establish them. The people who have gotten used to your constant availability will resist when you begin to protect your time. They'll question your change. They might even accuse you of being different. But that's not something to fear. It's something to expect. Because growth always disrupts comfort zones, especially other people's. One of the strongest forms of self-care is the ability to say, I care about you, but I also care about me. That statement is not selfish. It's balanced, it's honest, and it's rare. In a world that celebrates burnout as a badge of honor, choosing boundaries is a radical act of self-respect. It's how you stay aligned. It's how you preserve your energy for what really matters. It's how you make sure your help, your love, your guidance doesn't come from a place of depletion, but from overflow. You are not here to carry everyone. You are not responsible for everyone's problems. You are not required to be everything for everyone. Your life has a direction, and if you don't protect it, you'll find yourself moving in circles, busy but not productive, giving but not growing, surrounded by people yet disconnected from yourself. Boundaries are the framework that keep your values intact, your priorities clear, and your life moving forward. They are not a betrayal of kindness. They are the foundation of it. Because only when you are well, clear, and strong can you offer others the kind of help that actually matters. 8 types of people misuse your help, especially those who drain, blame, or manipulate. These are the individuals who don't see your help as a gift but as a guarantee. They don't ask for your support to grow, they expect it to survive. They don't use your energy to build something meaningful, they consume it to maintain their dysfunction. And the most dangerous part is that many of them don't even do it consciously. They've lived so long in cycles of self-pity, avoidance, or entitlement that they've normalized using others as emotional life rafts. And once they identify you as someone kind and capable, they latch on slowly, subtly, persistently, until helping them becomes a burden that weighs down your progress, drains your joy, and blurs your purpose. The first type is the victim thinker, the person who never takes responsibility for anything that goes wrong in their life. The job, the relationship, the health issues, the drama, it's always someone else's fault. They come to you with stories of being wronged, and at first it sounds genuine. You offer support, maybe even advice. But soon you realize that they're not interested in change. They don't want solutions. They want validation for their pain and someone to agree that the world is unfair to them. If you keep helping them, you're not lifting them up. You're just giving them another excuse to avoid looking in the mirror. Then there's the emotional blackmailer. These individuals are masterful at turning your compassion into a weapon. They'll guilt you into staying, shame you into saying yes, and make you feel like you owe them your time, even when it costs you your peace. They'll say things like, "After all I've done for you," or "I guess I just don't matter to you anymore," to keep you hooked. Helping them feels like walking on eggshells. Every favor you do turns into an unspoken contract. And when you try to pull back, they make you the villain in their story. The third type is the lazy excuser. Someone who talks a lot about goals but rarely puts in the work. They'll borrow your time, your ideas, your motivation, but they never implement anything. You think you're mentoring them, encouraging them, being supportive, but you're actually helping them stay stuck. They become addicted to the feeling of planning their life rather than living it, and your constant presence gives them a false sense of progress. What they need is a wake-up call, not a lifeline. Then you meet the chronic complainer. Nothing is ever enough for them. No matter how much support you offer, they find a reason to be unhappy. They're not looking for solutions. They're looking for attention. They thrive in negativity and often use your help to fuel their narratives of how hard everything is. And when you stop replying to every message or start creating distance, they accuse you of being insensitive. But deep down, you realize that every time you help them, it only made them sink further into the pattern of dissatisfaction. The fifth type is the taker who never gives. They reach out when they need something, money, time, connections, emotional support, but disappear when you need them. The relationship is one-directional, and you begin to feel more like a resource than a friend. You help them out of habit or loyalty, but after a while, the imbalance becomes impossible to ignore. And the more you give, the more entitled they become, never recognizing your effort, only expecting more. The drama magnet is next. Chaos follows them like a shadow. Every week there's a new emergency, a new betrayal, a new problem that only you can fix. Helping them feels urgent, even heroic at times, but it never ends. One crisis melts into the next. They never pause to reflect, never take responsibility, never learn. Instead, they recruit people like you to be part of their emotional response team. It becomes a cycle of distraction, and while you're busy putting out their fires, you forget to tend to your own. Then there's the jealous friend, the one who claps for you with a smile but flinches at your growth. When you help them, you might feel like you're being generous, but behind the surface, they're silently comparing, competing, or even resenting you. And sometimes they'll subtly sabotage your energy, your confidence, or your time. They're not looking to rise with you. They're hoping to keep the gap between you from growing too wide. Lastly, there's the one who refuses responsibility. They make mistake after mistake, and you clean it up every time. You offer advice, they ignore it. You bail them out, they do it again. They confuse love with rescue and see your help not as support, but as a safety net. Eventually, you realize they're not trying to improve. They're outsourcing the cost of their bad decisions to you. And when you finally say no, they act betrayed, not because you hurt them, because you're no longer shielding them from themselves. All 8 of these personalities misuse your help in different ways, but they have one thing in common. They leave you feeling drained, undervalued, and responsible for their mess. The more you give, the more they take, and the more they take, the less they grow. Helping these types is not a gesture of kindness. It's an act of self-neglect if done without limits. You can't heal people who are committed to staying broken, especially when your help becomes the tool they use to avoid transformation. True impact comes not from helping everyone, but from helping the right ones wisely. It's a shift in mindset that separates emotional exhaustion from meaningful contribution. Many of us grow up believing that goodness is measured by how much we do for others, how often we say yes, how quickly we respond, how selflessly we give. But the truth is, when help is given blindly, without discernment, and without considering the readiness of the person receiving it, it often produces no real change. In fact, it can create resentment, dependence, and even harm. Real impact isn't about volume, it's about direction. It's not about doing more, it's about doing what truly matters with the people who are ready to grow, not just willing to take. There's a deep emotional satisfaction that comes from being needed. It feeds a part of us that wants to feel useful, valuable, important. But being needed and being impactful are not the same thing. You can be constantly needed and yet make no difference. You can be endlessly available and still not contribute to someone's progress. Impact is not about how much you give. It's about what your giving creates. When your help leads to growth, ownership, and real transformation, it's meaningful. When it leads to dependency, stagnation, or emotional confusion, it becomes a distraction. People often think that the more they give, the more they're helping. But quantity does not equal quality. Saying yes to every request, jumping into every crisis, responding to every call for help, it can leave you overextended and ineffective. When you try to help everyone, you end up helping no one deeply. Your energy is split, your focus is blurred, and you may find yourself giving surface level support to many instead of life-changing help to a few. Impact requires intention. It requires saying no to good things so you can say yes to the right things. It requires the courage to disappoint people in order to honor your purpose. The people who benefit most from your help are not always the loudest or the most dramatic. Sometimes they're the ones who ask quietly, who show up consistently, who act on what you give them. They may not cry for your attention, but they take your support and turn it into momentum. These are the people who are ready. They're not looking for rescue. They're looking for a partner in their growth. And when you help them, your energy multiplies. You don't walk away feeling drained. You walk away feeling fulfilled. Helping the right people means observing more than you react. It means asking yourself, will this person actually use what I give them? It means noticing patterns. Are they making the same mistake over and over again? Are they genuinely taking steps on their own? Or are they waiting for someone to carry them? The right ones won't drain you. They'll meet your help with gratitude and action. They won't make your support a habit. They'll use it as a launch pad. We live in a world that celebrates hustle, sacrifice, and nonstop giving. But real leadership, whether in a personal or professional context, comes from knowing where your presence matters most. It comes from the wisdom to walk away from situations where your help is wasted and to lean in fully where it has the power to transform. Not everyone is your assignment. Not everyone is your responsibility. And the more you mature, the more you begin to realize that helping everyone is not only impossible, it's irresponsible. Because you have limited energy, time, and emotional bandwidth, and if you give it all away without direction, you'll burn out long before you make a difference. Sometimes the most impactful thing you can do is to stop trying to fix everyone. Step back, let people take responsibility, let them struggle if they need to. Growth often begins where comfort ends. If your help is keeping people from feeling discomfort, you might also be keeping them from growing. That doesn't mean you turn your back on people. It means you become wise enough to know when to help, how to help, and who to help. When you do that, your impact deepens. You stop just being a presence in someone's life, and you start becoming a catalyst. That's where the real change happens, not in being constantly available, but in being intentionally present for those who are ready to rise. The truth is, not everyone deserves your help, and recognizing that doesn't make you heartless, it makes you wise. If you give your time, your energy, your emotional strength to people who only take, who refuse to grow, who blame, manipulate, or depend on you endlessly, you don't just risk exhaustion, you risk losing yourself. Help is powerful. And like any power, it must be used with intention. The greatest impact you will ever make won't come from saving everyone. It will come from choosing who you help, how you help, and when to walk away. You are not here to fix the world alone. You are here to protect your energy, serve your purpose, and lift those who are truly ready to rise. Be kind, but be clear. Be generous, but be guarded. And never forget that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is stop helping those who are using your help to stay exactly where they are.